so let's do immersion. They did it, and the kids' grades started going up. The dropout rate dropped. I mean, parents were happy. As chairman of the board, I invited, with the support of Gail Lowe on the board at the time, to bring in the researcher to talk to us about immersion. And then we brought in a superintendent, teacher, and a parent from California who then spoke to us and shared with us it can work. And we need to do it, okay? But we also need to realize it has to be a law. So,
thank you. You have 1 minute to answer this question. Do you believe charter schools should be allowed to promote other cultures over American culture? And do you support allowing charter schools to use the permanent school fund to guarantee construction bonds? Why or why not? 1 minute.
okay. First of all, charter schools need to promote America's exceptionalism and our curriculum that we work so hard in the 4 basic subject areas. That's what charter schools are about, okay? They're like a private public school, okay, that was created so that teachers could be innovative and use different approaches, you know, to kids learning, but they still had to abide by the curriculum. I do not like, there's a particular charter school that I've got concerns about that apparently is coming from Turkey, and it's really being questioned, and we need to look into that, and I'm told that the Commissioner of Education is looking into it. I think the State Board needs to look into it, but anyway, that, I think was there a second part of the question that, did I cover?
I think.
Oh, okay, because I support charter schools, you know. Oh, the bonds issue.
Your time is up.
Yeah, if you'll allow me, okay.
Your time is up.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry, we
Okay.
have to do the same
Okay,
thing among
sure,
all the
sure.
candidates.
Okay.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. During the Social Studies Curriculum Standards Review in 2009-2010, the State Board of Education voted to make changes which some considered to be controversial. Do you support the changes made or not, and why?
I supported all the changes that were made in all of, from the reading, the science, the history. Okay, and well, the math is up again, but back when we did the math too. So yes, we had hearty discussions, okay? And everybody got real emotional about the issues, but the bottom line is we came out with the best conservative curriculum, bar none, in the United States. I'm very, very proud of all of the subjects that we worked hard on. Okay.
You have 1 minute to answer this question. Do you favor English immersion or bilingual education?
I think I answered that earlier, but if you want me to say it again, I absolutely believe that we need to do immersion, but we're going to have to make it a law. Okay, it's a pretty big political issue, but these kids need to become proficient in English. It is not fair to them to put them through a school system that really enables them not to be able to learn and be proficient in English when they graduate and go out into the work world. It's almost a form of abuse in my view, because these kids deserve to have the very best, and we need to give it to them. So.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. What part of the TEKS, Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, covers sex education? At what age level is this taught? Do you agree with it? If you don't agree with this, what would you change?
Well, first of all, we've got to realize that thanks to the conservative legislators back in 1995, they put it into law. And because we had a huge controversy on our board in 1994 with the publishers of the health textbooks, and we asked for more abstinence put into the books, and they didn't want to do it. So we said, I'm sorry, we want it. So we went over home on Christmas, made some corrections, came back, presented it, they didn't want it. Well, we did it anyway, because we wanted more abstinence. They go over to the legislature in 1995, and convince the legislators to take the authority of the content away from the State Board of Education. And that was the issue right there. And it was over sex education. So thanks to Warren Chisholm, who was conservative legislature at the time, he authored the bill, and it passed without a problem. In other words, it says there will be a committee of parents. If they decide to teach sex education, it's their option to do it. They don't have to, okay? Then it has to be abstinence-based, okay? And they spelled it out clearly, and it's in law. So there is no way anybody can get around that, okay? And I happen to believe very strongly that we need to have abstinence-based sex education.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. What is the importance of teaching the Magna Carta, U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, private property rights, and private business ownership?
Well, it's the exceptionalism of America, and that's the core of our history curriculum. And thanks to people like my good friend Bill Ames, who fought as a volunteer retired businessman. He is proficient in history. And we go back over 10 years. And he has helped me, and he really stood by me, stood by all of us on the board, and made sure that we had that core into the history. One of the key things that he did, and I give him credit for this, is he said we need a week of it's called Celebrating America Week in each grade. And before they didn't have that. And this way, the teachers have to teach the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all that, and all the wonderful things about America. They cannot water that down or skip over it. And that was a great victory. And I was really proud of that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. What does the current Texas Essential Knowledge's text?
It's 12.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one. I beg your pardon. You have 2 minutes to answer this question. Several North Texas superintendents representing the North Texas Regional Consortium recently sent a letter to the State Board of Education and the governor with concern about standardized testing. In the letter, they discussed, quote, relentless test preparation and boring memorization of facts, close quote. Do you agree with the low opinion of memorization, which is sometimes called drill and kill, that is common among many educators? If yes, why? If no, why not?
The memorization is one of the best things in the world for our brain. And as a trained dyslexia and phonics teacher and working at the hospital with Dr. Wade, it made it very clear what's important and what the kids are going to retain and how important the three-dimensional parts of learning period is important, okay? And first of all, the kids, we're going to have to teach the kids, all right? They're going to have to be tested because it's a state law, okay, to do that. So you measure, the measurement is teach, measure, okay? And that's this new test that is coming in called the STAR test. And I call it the old-fashioned, what I did when we grew up, the final exam. We all took final exams. We learned the subject, and we were tested over at the end of the semester or the end of the year. And we're going back to that, and the research is supporting that approach. But as they call drill and kill, it works, and the kids need it, okay, yeah, for the development of their brain.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. What does the current TEKS, Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, say about evolution and creationism? Do you agree with the current standards, and if not, how should they be changed?
I think they're great, and that was one of the other fights that we had, and all the theories, our agreement was all theories would be taught, okay, and everybody agreed on it, okay. And I think intelligent design needs to be taught along with all the other theories, okay. So we were very pleased, all of us were very pleased by the time we got through it. I call this like birthing a baby, you all, when you work on curriculum updates. It's pretty painful, but after it's over, you forget it, you go on down the road, and we've got the best, okay? I'm very proud of the science curriculum.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. 45 states have adopted the Common Core standards, which is a set of K through 12 curriculum standards developed by a group of national organizations and supported by the federal government. States who adopt Common Core are being granted waivers from meeting certain No Child Left Behind NCLB goals. States who do not adopt Common Core may be penalized with the loss of Title I federal money for low-income districts. Do you support adoption of the Common Core standards in Texas? If yes, why? If not, why not? And how do you address the consequences of non-adoption?
Well, a consequence of what?
Non-adoption of the Common Core standards.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, let's get rid of Obama, okay? And we'll get a president, a Republican president in there that'll do away with that concept of the core, and also do away with the Department of Education. That's another step forward. But no, I absolutely do not believe in the Common Core. I don't want anybody telling me from Washington what our kids need to learn. That's terrible. It's just awful. Texas, from 1984 up to this day, we have been on the cutting edge of developing curriculum, the best in the nation. I promise you. We used to invite different state boards of education from different around the country to come visit and to share, and we found that we didn't need to share because they were picking our brain. They were absolutely surprised at how far ahead we were in developing our curriculum and being on the cutting edge of subject matter. Texas has always been out front, but this is a statewide issue. This is not a national issue. I'm afraid that will push us into a dictatorship approach, if you will, to government, and I'm absolutely against it. Yeah.
You have 1 minute to answer this question. Should all history and government courses be required to reinforce the factual differences between a pure democracy and a pure Republican form of government?
Well, I think the way we developed the history teaks was to talk about a republic constitution. In other words, a representative form of government. And we made very clear that it was balanced and it was accurate, and we felt very comfortable about that. And I feel like that's the bottom line on our history curriculum. So.
You have 2 minutes to answer this question. Are alternative sexual lifestyles such as homosexual, bisexual, and transgender included in the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills? If so, at what grade level and in what core subjects, for example, English, science, or social studies? Do you agree with the TEKS on this issue?
I don't know where they are in the TEKS, and my understanding is they're not in there. And that's one of those issues where I don't believe in political correctness, okay? We need to be factual and accurate on everything, but no, I don't believe it's in there, and I don't support it at all.
Thank you.
This is your last question, and you have 2 minutes to answer. In traditional education, the teacher is the primary source of information and authority and disseminates knowledge. In constructivism, the teacher acts as a facilitator, interacting with and assisting students to construct their own learning. Please state your philosophy on constructivism versus traditional education.
I happen to support Dr. Jean Shaw, who was the most famous researcher in the field of reading at Harvard University. She's not with us anymore. But she did some great research on the fact that research supports teacher-driven instruction, not this concept of everybody sit around a table and everybody write a theme together, okay? You absolutely have to have a teacher-driven if you will, instruction.